there are 5 more dog facts that we've all heard and probably believe, but it turns out they're totally false. Number 4 might actually blow your mind. Let's bark about it. Welcome back to Alpha Paw, your destination for everything dog. I'm Bernie Zilio, and I'm on a mission to answer every doggone question you have ever had about your fur babies. And this is part 2 of our series dedicated to debunking commonly believed myths about dogs. Fortunately, we have an amazing vet with us today, Dr. Jordan Cole. Dr. Cole earned his veterinary degree at UC Davis School of Veterinary Medicine in 2018 and has considerable training in both small and zoological animal medicine. Beyond clinical work, his interests include endangered species conservation and One Health, and he is currently involved in giraffe research. Dr. Cole will be filling in for Dr. Ross today, and we are so happy to have him. Welcome to Alpha Paw, Dr. Cole.
Great to be with you, Bernie. Thanks so much for having me on.
Thank you so much for being here. This is my personal type of video because I am the person who believes all of these myths until they are debunked here on Alpha Paw. So let's get right to it. So the first myth that we are debunking today is one that I have always believed and heard and all of that good stuff, is that mutts are healthier than purebred dogs. But apparently that's not true. Can you explain why, Dr. Cole?
Sure. So I'll start off by saying, whether they're purebred or mixed bred dogs, we love them all. No ifs, ands, or mutts about it. But to answer your question,
thank you for that.
But to answer your questions, I had to. I guess there is a distinction between health and, being predisposed to certain diseases. So, when we talk about health, all dogs, are going to be healthy or unhealthy. Unfortunately, a lot of times, dogs are going to get sick no matter what, no matter if they're purebred, no matter if they're mixed bred. We do our absolute best to try and prevent that, but, it doesn't really matter. A lot of times they will, get disease. Again, purebred dogs sometimes are known, depending on the breed, to suffer from specific inherited diseases. But, again, it doesn't mean that, mixed breed dogs are protected completely from diseases or from those specific diseases. So, again, unfortunately, any dog can get sick. And that's why, we always recommend, bringing your pup in for annual veterinary checks to make sure that they're up to date on things and there's nothing that we need to, be concerned about.
That's very informative. And that's important. There's a distinction. It's knowing, I guess, the lineage or how a certain breed of dog tends to age over time versus a dog who may have that breed and another breed and another breed. We don't exactly know. So I'm glad we touched upon that. So the second myth that I want to debunk with you today blew my mind. I had no idea. But apparently most male dogs lift their leg to pee, but apparently some female dogs lift their leg to pee. Can you please just explain this to me?
So, there's no unspoken rule, when it comes to how dogs behave, whether they're, going pee or doing whatever. And so, yes, some females will lift their legs, potentially, more dominant females may do that. And some males actually may squat to pee. Actually, my dog, Hagrid, that used to be really the only way that he would urinate is sort of going into a squat position.
That's how mine pees too, my baby.
And, not making fun of, him for doing that. There's no right or wrong answer. However, I will say it's very interesting. My dog lived with another male dog for a few years. And after a certain amount of time, he actually learned to lift his leg like that other dog does. So, who knows whether it's a learned behavior or, something else. We don't know for sure. And I will say there are many factors that determine behavior. You can't really always explain it, but it certainly never ceases to be fascinating.
That's amazing. I have never seen a girl dog lift her leg, but I would love to. Queen bee right there, just like owning all the other dogs in her vicinity. Love it. Okay, so we have a third myth that I want us to debunk. And my dog's here in the background. And coming from someone like me who loves a good Google home remedy situation, I know that online says garlic can actually be a flea preventative for dogs, but I've come to learn that that is not true. So can you kind of explain that to me, please?
To my knowledge, garlic has, not been scientifically proven to prevent against flea infestations. And certainly want to make it clear, whenever we're talking about garlic or onion for that matter, both of those foods can be highly toxic to dogs and cats. They cause a condition called hemolytic anemia, which basically means that the red blood cells will break open. And that will lead to a deficiency in red blood cells if that happens on large enough a scale to create actually quite an emergent condition in dogs and cats that ingest onion or garlic. And so, again, just want to make sure if you think that your dog or cat has come into contact or ingested onions and garlic, it really actually does need to be eaten. Certainly best to get them to a veterinarian, contact a veterinarian as soon as you can. If it's within, an hour or so, we may be able to induce vomiting at the veterinary clinic and get some of that material out of their system. But, unfortunately, if they do start showing signs of hemolytic anemia because of ingesting garlic or onion, that may, necessitate pretty intensive hospitalization, potentially things including blood transfusions. So bottom line is, anything including garlic or onion, want to try and keep that away from your dog or cat as much as possible.
Got it. Now, I have seen that people say you can put garlic like topically on your animal. So you were saying that garlic is harmful if it's ingested, but is it harmful if it's topical? And also, why do you want your dog to smell? I don't know. I have so many questions, but does it even work if it's put on their skin topically?
Yeah, listen, there's no such thing as a bad question. Knowledge is power here. But I would just stay away from it. I would feel uncomfortable, bringing garlic near them, because what if they lick it off their skin
Exactly.
or
Yeah.
lick it off their hair? I think it's just better safe than sorry. There are many other ways that, we can prevent flea infestation, not just flea infestation, but ticks and mites and other what we call ectoparasites or skin parasites. So please talk to your veterinarian about ways that are more scientifically proven and safer for your dog or your cat.
Absolutely. So no garlic baths. Copy that. Now, myth number 4 that we're debunking once again has blown my mind, and it is that, well, I always thought dogs enjoyed eating food that tastes good, and apparently that's not necessarily the case.
Yeah, this is a fun but also a pretty difficult question, at least for me to answer, because
Okay.
a lot of times it deals with how dogs perceive the world, their senses. And as hard as we try to, think or sense like a dog, we're not going to be able to get all the way there. But, specifically to answer your question about, tasting food, dogs are known to have, fewer taste buds than humans do. So it's likely that their sense of smell is, a much larger factor when, they're sensing what they're eating. Obviously, dogs' sense of smell is, many, many thousands and thousands times stronger, if not millions, than ours is. So they really perceive the world, a lot more through their nose than we do, of course. But again, this is one where we can't totally say for sure. It is a fun one to think about, though.
It definitely is. That's very interesting because I don't think dog food smells that bad, but I absolutely don't want to try it. So I think what you're saying kind of makes sense. I'm sure it's marketed so that it smells good to them, and I'm sure it's packed with all the nutrients that they need. So I'm kind of understanding. I don't know if you can hear my dog squeaking his toy extremely loudly.
I think he agrees with you.
He does. And in fact, the toy he's squeaking, because I can hear the squeak, it's his chicken toy. So he knows we're talking about food. I wish he would bring it over here. But okay, so let's move on. Oh, this one is another crazy one. So another myth that I see on the internet floating around is that dogs eat rocks and like dirt and sometimes another dog's poop if they're like nutrient deficient. Can you explain if that's true or not and where that would even come from?
So, dogs eat, what we may find as gross or completely unappetizing, items, potentially for a lot of reasons. Sometimes this is actually a condition which is called pica, which, actually humans suffer from as well. But we don't always know why dogs, eat those things. Maybe it smells interesting to them, even though to us it might not, or it might smell disgusting. Maybe they're bored, or there's another sort of behavioral condition going on that's causing them to, start eating things like that. Or, there could be a possible nutrient or micronutrient deficiency, that is leading them to eat things that, we wouldn't normally expect them to. I would say, though, the key here, is to look for a pattern. If this is something that's happening, repeatedly time and again, the key is to find out why, to get to the bottom of it, because maybe there is something going on, again, whether it is a nutrition thing or a behavior thing or something else. And so, feel free to talk to your veterinarian about it, even if it might be a little bit, embarrassing to discuss. But it
Hi,
might be
my
very
dog
important.
only eats rocks. Can you tell me what's wrong with them?
Yeah, no. And in terms of, eating rocks in particular, that's one, that scares me a lot because, that certainly could be, a surgical condition that can cause, an obstruction of the GI tract. So, if we notice that, we want to try and stop it, but we also want to see if there's a reason that we need to address underlying it.
Totally. And I do think there is a small part in all dogs. They're just rascals and they like getting into things and they eat things they know they shouldn't be eating because they're bored and they enjoy getting a rise out of us, right? Pod
They
people will
do.
say
They
hi.
do.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Cole. Once again, my mind is completely blown and I feel like I have so much more knowledge about dogs. Do you have more questions? Drop them down in the comments section below. Once again, I'm Bernie Zilio, and this is Alpha Pop. Be sure you subscribe to our channel so you don't miss one single doggone episode. We'll see you next time.